today's episode, I've got someone special with me. Her story is a little bit different to all the others that you've seen because, unlike the others that are further along their grief journey and navigated it, she's still in the thick of it. It's still all new to her. And she's going to give us a really different perspective on what that looks like for her and a lot of other people that might be going through something similar. So I'll get her to introduce herself and yeah.
Hi, my name's Aysha. I'm 21, currently going through the transitional period of study and finding full-time work. And I lost my mum not too long ago, about 2 years ago, and yeah, still working through it.
So, for my first question, I'll get you to dive into your childhood. What was your life like? If you want to walk us through, you know, where you were to where you are now, and we'll go through the journey. Yeah.
So I grew up in a beautiful home full of my parents' sacrifices. I had an amazing childhood with three older brothers, and I was raised in a family home until I was about 13 years old when my parents had divorced and my mum moved into a new house while she was also fighting cancer. We fought her medical battles as a family, and unfortunately, we lost her, and it hit like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
Being the only girl in our family, I have a different relationship with my mom, and that's something my brothers could never understand, and therefore my grief was a lot different.
So, obviously, being the only girl, your grief hits different because as women, we tend to feel it more. Men feel it in different ways, you know, and that's one part of it. And I feel like the other part of it, an interesting conversation we had was how we almost felt like our parents prepared us in a way, you know, without them even realizing and how that's helping us in our life today. So if you want to talk a little bit about the bond that you had with your mom and touch base on that for me.
So growing up, I was the only girl, and I was very close with my mum. We understood each other better than the boys could. And my mum was always very stuck in cultural norms of what a brown family should look like. A fond memory of mine was when I was very young. My mum would force me to stand in the kitchen and learn how to cook from her. Little did I know that was a skill that would help me for the next few years to come.
It's interesting that you say that because, you know, like you were saying, you didn't realize that she was almost preparing you for when she was not going to be here. And I went through something similar with my dad where he lost his dad when he was 10 and I was 10 when I lost him. And he had a conversation with me, I remember once when I was 8 or 9 in the car, and literally said, you know, like, there's some things that I need you to know in life and I need you to understand in life because I might not be here tomorrow. And it's interesting because it's almost like he knew. And I think that's definitely such a big blessing for us to be able to have parents that, you know, have given us those life skills that we can still use now despite everything else we've been through and despite the grief. They're still almost looking out for us, even though they're not here, which is beautiful. My last question today would be obviously for you, your story is a little bit different. You're in the thick of it. You're going through the grief right now. You're going through the messy bits right now. We're so used to seeing social media where it's always highlights. And right now, your season is a bit different. And I love that we get to share that and talk about that. So if you want to touch base on what that's like now, what life looks like for you now, and what it's like dealing with the messy ends of grief and the pain and all of that.
Yeah, um, it's definitely tough because no one quite understands my perspective of loss and grief. I think, to be quite honest with you guys, I'm in the phase of where life doesn't really make a lot of sense right now. I had to grow up and I had to mature so quickly to take care of mum. It's been 2 years since mum has passed, and I have to find who I am. I have to find what I love and realize that I'm not mum's care anymore. I'm a grown woman, I'm independent, and I have to find myself.
It's really interesting that, you know, something you touched on is finding yourself. And I think a big part of grief is when you lose someone and your whole world is around being the caretaker and taking care of them and making sure they're comfortable in their last moments. And you sit back after everything is said and done and go, who am I outside of this? What's my identity? What does that look like? And especially for you being at such a vulnerable age where you lost her, where you're navigating all of this, is different and it's hard and it's messy. But the fact that you can openly talk about it is amazing. So my last question to you is, what would be the advice you would give someone that's in the thick of it right now, going through something similar to what you are, that can really relate? Because I feel like more than anyone else's story right now, yours really resonates in the present. And so, in the present moment, what would be the advice you would give anyone going through it?
Yeah, so being without mum has pushed me out of my comfort zone, and I'm having to question my own thoughts and every little decision that I make, and always wonder would she lecture me? And if she was lecturing me, she'd always be right. So my advice would be take one day at a time and strive to live a life that they would always be proud of. So I think in a lot of ways, my journey can be very different to everything else you'll hear on this podcast as I'm going through the thick of it right now and I don't have my life sorted out. But there is hope that whatever I'm doing, if mum would be proud, then I'm living a good life.
I think it's amazing that you have the strength to be able to sit down and have these conversations and help someone else whilst you're in the thick of it. That's not easy, and that takes a lot of courage. So, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your world, your journey, and everything else. And hopefully, I can't wait to have you on here a few years from now and, learn more about your journey, and you can update everybody as well on how you're going. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.